Welcome to the Move the Stairs podcast. This is episode 100. So today is a milestone for us. 100 episodes. And it's fitting that today we're going to be talking about CBD because we focused on this topic for many of our podcasts over the years. And by the way, we're recording on August 7th, 2024.
Yeah, 100 episodes. I can't believe it. Just time flies. Very important subject. And, why not welcome in two experts into the arena here to talk to us more about CBD and hemp. So today we're so excited to be joined by Kerry Hinkle. He's the Director of Membership and Public Affairs for the U.S. Hemp Roundtable. And alongside him, Justin Ward, the co-founder and CEO of Stoney Branch Farm. What we're going to be talking about today is how they are working at two very different levels to not only educate lawmakers, but also the public on the importance of CBD and hemp and what they are doing to combat essentially the war against CBD and hemp.
It's so true, and Kerry will tell us about how he has really grown and mobilized the U.S. Hemp Roundtable, and they're taking action against an amendment that could literally destroy, and I'm not being hyperbolic here, destroy the hemp industry. It's really a masterclass in how customer and membership loyalty can really make a difference. And that's one of our three legs of the brand protection stool. And Justin's going to talk about an event that provides an experience. We know how important that is in these days to solidify his customer loyalty.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear about that. And when it comes to traditional and social media, Kerry turned a pretty negative situation into this amazing traditional and social media event and did so in about 24 hours. So talk about being nimble. It is awesome. And then Justin recently distilled a story with all kinds of moving parts, very complex. Mm-hmm. And he did so the reporter could not only understand the issues, but then clearly report on the issues, right? Get the right facts out there. So we're going to find out how they moved the stairs in both of those instances.
And we always talk about brand resiliency. Both Kerry and Justin have recently and successfully navigated some setbacks within the CBD and hemp industry. So we're going to end the podcast connecting with both of them about how they are working to build relationships and always making sure that they're ready for the other shoe to drop, which Diane alluded to could be sooner rather than later, especially when it comes to the ongoing CBD saga. So without further ado, we'd love to welcome Justin and Kerry both to the studio. Justin, starting with you, can you tell our audience a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me. Honored to be here on the 100th episode. Again, my name is Justin Ward. I'm one of the co-founders and the chief executive officer at Stoney Branch Farms. We were founded in 2018, shortly before federal legalization, but just after Illinois had legalized hemp at the state level. Previously, I had been involved in the recreational and medical cannabis industry in Colorado, had been managing cultivation facilities there for about 4 years. Grew up in farming. We're a 6th-generation family farm here at Stoney Branch. And cannabis has been hemp has been an incredible opportunity for my family farm. We aren't a large enough farm to support our family with just row crop acreage. So hemp actually was the opportunity to bring my family back to the farm, get us back involved in agriculture and farming our land the way we always wanted to. So that's a little bit about me.
Thanks so much, Justin. And Kerry, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and, maybe just a brief overview on what in the world is going on with this amendment that really has hemp and CBD in its crosshairs?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And thanks again for having me on. And this is a return, I guess, for the 100th episode as I was on this podcast 3 or 4 years ago. So it's great to be back. I'm the Director of Membership and Public Affairs for the U.S. Hemp Roundtable. We're an advocacy organization that's been helping pass hemp-friendly legislation for a little over a decade now, most notably working with Senator McConnell on the language that was added to the 2018 Farm Bill. Ever since then, we have been urging Congress and the FDA to please regulate us. We're one of the few industries, and I can't tell you how many meetings I've had in D.C. with staff levels and all the way up to some of the most prominent senators, and saying that we are asking for regulation. We are one of the few ones that do that. Most industries, when they come to Congress, ask for the opposite. So for 6 years now, we have been asking for regulation on our industry, and nothing has happened. And as a result, some bad actors have started marketing and selling and promoting really highly intoxicating products to children and making products in an unsafe way. And an overreaction to this small problem, a congresswoman from Illinois named Mary Miller introduced an amendment in the subcommittee, in the House Agriculture Subcommittee of the Farm Bill, that would change the definition of hemp. So as most folks know, it's 0.3% Delta 9 THC on a dry weight basis is what allowed for this growing and burgeoning industry to expand and become what it is today. Mary Miller has introduced an amendment that would change it, that the definition of hemp would be non-detectable or quantifiable amounts of THC. So anything above that would be classified as marijuana and thus federally illegal. Anybody that grows the hemp crop, as Justin knows much, much more than I do, it is impossible to grow the crop without any quantifiable or detectable amounts of THC. You also mentioned at the top about the campaign we had around that. And this is appropriate to mention because, we had heard rumors for weeks before that committee markup that there was going to be a change in the definition of hemp. There was 60 plus members on that committee. We met with 2/3 of them. It was, we meet with one office and say, hey, we heard your boss might be putting that amendment forward. And they'd say, no, it's not us. Try this person. And we meet with them and they say, no, it's not this person. And so we kind of had been, on the guard, ready for this amendment to be filed. And then I think it was about 16 to 18 hours before the markup, the amendment was filed. So we had less than 24 hours to react and get our full membership of about 100 companies involved, as well as social media contacts, and really spread the message to urge this committee to vote no on that. We ended up with 15,000 emails sent. I want to say it was 40,000 social media impressions across LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We just made a lot of noise that day in opposition of it. And there was some, back dealing problems that we weren't able to fight through that ended up getting that amendment through. But I think it was a testament to building our contact list, building our membership, and just having everyone on guard and ready for when a tremendous and really impactful piece of legislation is going to happen. So ever since that's happened, Mary Miller's amendment has been introduced. We've been playing defense. It's been added to a couple other bills, and we've got a proactive solution to this as well. But really, this world of hemp policy never stops. It feels like every day we wake up and a new state is deciding to legislate or regulate us differently. So it keeps my job in hemp advocacy quite busy. But it also takes a lot of public pressure to help change these bills and amendments. So that's a big part of what I do as well. So I know you said keep it brief, Jordan, and I apologize I went a little long, but it's hard to encapsulate everything we do in just a few minutes.
Well, when you're talking about CBD and hemp policy, I mean, where's the brevity in that, right? There's so many intricacies and things to always be thinking about. And you mentioned proactivity there, which I think is the operative word when it came to your mobilization here. For you, what did it mean to see the overwhelming amount of response that you got from that campaign? You mentioned, I think, 40,000 plus impressions, like 15,000 emails were sent. And what does that, do to move the needle in Washington? Does it get them to say, oh my gosh, people are really paying attention to this?
Yeah. And there's a story that I think I might have told the last time I was on this show, but in 2018, there was an amendment from a senator from Nebraska that would have only allowed for grain and fiber production of hemp, which is similar to what we're seeing now. And we did the same thing. We got a big email campaign out, and there was about 30,000 emails at the time there. And that amendment was withdrawn within 24 hours. I remember we got phone calls from staffers in his office saying, please turn this off. Our phones are ringing off the hook. So, we tried to replicate that same thing. We had a much shorter window here. But there are examples, and at the state level too. Justin was involved in a huge email campaign we did in Illinois that impacted and killed that piece of legislation. So, I like to say it takes a combination of public and private pressure to affect change. And being able to tap into that public pressure is really critical, especially when a lot of times these people decide on a bill at a last minute.
National CBD Day was yesterday, and you have really worked to champion that day. Can you tell us a little bit more about what US Hemp Roundtable has done, and how that has acted to further mobilize an already pretty loyal base of folks that have really come out and supported you in these hemp causes and CBD causes?
Yeah, what doesn't have a national day these days? I think tomorrow, the day after is National Squirrel Day or something like that. I'm sure, it feels like there's a National Watermelon Day and everything gets a national day these days. But apparently our industry gets one, and it's on August 8th, which is National CBD Day. We thought, we've done social media posts in the past, just, hey, it's National CBD Day, let's welcome and celebrate the industry. But I think with all of this movement and attack from state and federal legislatures on the industry, we decided this would be a good opportunity to rebrand the day as National Save CBD Day. And we're urging all the companies in our membership. We've got a list of about 60,000 email subscribers we've reached out to. We've got other trade associations from across the country, small state-run associations that we're all encouraging everyone to post as hashtag Save CBD Day, which was August 8th. So, the genesis of this was a member reached out to me, Cornbread Hemp, out of Louisville, Kentucky, and said, what if we did this? And it was just one simple text. What if we did this as National Save CBD Day? And it got my gears grinding in my head, and I just took off and ran with it. So we're excited about the prospects of the campaign having taken place, which would be yesterday as we're recording on August 7th. The idea is to grow our email campaign list. So when we've got 16 hours to react to a bad piece of legislation, we'll have a growing number of folks that are engaged and understand that they can use our portal to contact their member of Congress in a matter of seconds. There's also a piece to building relationships with your certain member of Congress. When a bill is a week away from being signed and you reach out and this is the first time you've talked to somebody about the issue, they might be receptive, especially if you're a constituent, especially if you have employees in their district or pay taxes. They have to listen to you. It's their job. But it's one thing when it's a week out and this is a rush. Please don't do this. It's a very quick priority. Maybe it's a 10-minute conversation of 100 that politician might have that day. It's another when they've heard from you time and time again, you've built a relationship with them. They understand that your business operates in a reasonable way that has GMP manufacturing, standards in place or anything like that. So, you talk about brand loyalty. I so many times folks think about that as, a B2C. I'm selling to a customer and I want to make sure that they trust my products and my brand. But there's also a relationship and a brand loyalty with lawmakers and policymakers as well. I mentioned at the offset of this call, Senator McConnell, we worked with him on the 18 Farm Bill. He didn't wake up one day and just say, I think we should legalize hemp today. It took years and years of relationship building, getting him in front of farmers in Kentucky, educating him on the issue, that he ultimately came around on it. And so, if I think if a senator like him can be pro hemp, I think anybody can. So they think it's a testament to brand loyalty and reaching out to him. And that's part of what we hope to encapsulate and capture on with the Save CBD campaign.
Kerry, I think it's so interesting how you've been able to expand the membership at the U.S. Hemp Roundtable. And I'm interested in when you have situations where you're mobilizing people, do you think that's kind of the glue that gives them something to do? It's not a huge amount that they're doing, but they can really feel like they're having an impact. Is that important when you're building those relationships with your membership or your customers, because the members are your customers in this situation?
Yeah, absolutely. And, we have a board meeting in a couple of weeks. We will have the most companies we've ever had to vote on in the history of the organization at our board meeting in a couple of weeks. And so I'm very excited about that with just how fast our membership is growing, especially after this Mary Miller amendment was filed a few months ago. So there's positives and negatives to that. A lot of folks are really engaged because their livelihood is at threat.
Right.
So, we take that very seriously and we understand the implications that one day you can wake up and what you've been selling for years is now deemed illegal. It's happening in state legislatures across the country. So there have been some issues in it, in that there are almost hundreds of trade associations these days that pop up seemingly overnight. And getting everyone to sing from the same tune is really hard. That's why we have assembled about 33 other trade associations to sign on to our list of Farm Bill priorities document, as well as a Hemp Industry United Organizations document that we bring to Congress to show this is the industry and these are the priorities we're behind, which is, restricting products that have THC in them to 21 and over, making them with good manufacturing standards. Don't put them in products that look like Doritos or Skittles, things like that. So common sense regulation, not prohibition, is the stance of our organization, and compiling members and companies that are behind that, as well as other trade associations, so that we can all go to Congress and go to state legislatures and say, this is what the industry wants, this is what we're behind, has been a really important part of my job and what the association does.
Excellent. Well, here at MNC, we are all former journalists. And one of the things that we teach in our media training is that There are ways to work with interviews, positive or negative, and really turn them so that you can make a difference and position yourself as a thought leader. And I think that's really important when you're talking about something like CBD, that you're ready to do that, because you can run into all different things. Jordan, I'm going to move this around a little bit. I want to get Justin in here to talk about the fact that he recently was meeting with reporters. He had a lot, and the reporters are mainly general assignment anymore. They may not know anything about hemp and CBD. And so he had a lot to distill, but he did a great job. And the reporter really got the story, which makes the reporter look good, very important, as well as position. Justin, you were positioned as a thought leader. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was a great opportunity for you to get to tell our side of the story. There has been a poor picture painted of what the hemp industry looks like, specifically here in Illinois, related to some of the issues we've been facing with the recreational cannabis, specifically the larger MSOs. So I think what really helped us was just our level of experience and expertise. You know, I've been doing this for a decade now. I've been involved in hemp and cannabis, and I think that really has helped to over those years, having a lot of conversations, seeing a lot of people walk away confused, understanding how I need to, alter that conversation and that message to make it easily consumable for people that are new to this, because it is very complex. There's a lot to all this. So distilling it down in a way that's easy to understand is key. We were lucky with that reporter specifically that she was had some experience in the cannabis space and wasn't totally unfamiliar with it. So that helped. Definitely. But yeah, just I think our experience and level of understanding and just knowing how to communicate in a way that's going to be consumable for people.
Very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Kerry, let's talk about the experience with media. You've had some pretty top tier national coverage. And so they're now, they turn to you often to get the perspective on the national CBD situation, the environment. How did you develop those relationships? You talked about building relationships earlier with lawmakers, the media, policy leaders. But now you're considered kind of the thought leader. How did you get to that status? What'd you do?
Yeah, well, somebody left their job and I got it. So,
There you go.
Yeah. So, in short, that's how it happened. But, I think more largely, I've got a skill of building good relationships and rapport with people, and reporters are no different than that. A side note, I thought it was very cool. A couple weeks ago, I was emailing on a Sunday with a reporter from the Washington Post, and I got to break the news that Biden was stepping down with him. And that was just, a small kid from small town that didn't come from much. It was cool to say I broke the news to a reporter from the Washington Post was great. I think it's just, treating people like they are. I will add too, I think I sent Diane a note about this a few months ago. I was on the horn with one of our reporters doing a local story, and the first question I asked them was, are you working on a deadline? And that was advice I got from Diane. And they were like, yes, I am actually. I have to do it in 2 days. And it built a credibility, I think, with that reporter. When that was the first thing I asked them. And so, again, I have to thank Diane for that advice. So, I think reaching out to folks that have reported on the issue before is another thing I've done. So just proactively, if I see a story that's been written about hemp or CBD in Forbes, for example, there was one a couple of weeks ago. I just reached out to the reporter and said, hey, love the story. I work in the industry. If you ever need anything, let me know. So there's a proactive approach to it. Is when I read it, I think, hey, let me send that person a note. You never know when they might be working on another story. And there's also the pitches. So, I've got a contact list of about 1,000 reporters, some specific to the hemp and cannabis industry, some that are just general reporters for local and national outlets that we'll send, press releases to and keep them engaged every so often when we've got stories going on. So it's really just about, treating people the right way and building the relationship. And, I think also the last thing I'll add is before I communicate with them, I think, is this news? That's the first thing I think of is I don't need to send them something that is not newsworthy. And so, keeping them top of mind and making sure that I value their time is another trait that I try to keep in mind.
Love that.
Kerry, you kind of explained it beautifully, and that's kind of baked into your job description too. Justin, you're juggling a lot of different things, being a farmer. So I'm curious, on your sides of things, are you maintaining relationships with local reporters like that woman who interviewed you recently? And if so, what are some tips and tricks that you're, employing to try to keep those relationships warm at the hyper local level?
Yeah, I think it's similar to what Kerry mentioned, keeping her updated on things we're working on. I'm actually a board member of a trade association here in Illinois that's focused on more state level regulatory efforts. So have things we're involved with in that I'm sharing as well, but just trying to keep communication open, the way Kerry mentioned, sharing what we're working on. We do a lot of events, and sometimes we'll run into these reporters at events. So of course, always try to flag them down and get a conversation going about, what has changed since we spoke with them last. So I think it's, Kerry hit it well. It's about just maintaining a relationship, treating people the way you would want to be treated in these kind of interactions, and just keeping the line of communication open so that when we have something that was newsworthy, that relationship's established, we can reach out to them and hopefully they're willing to take it on. So.
I love that. And the word relationships, imagine how many times we've said that just in this podcast. It's really important. And I think, reporters, sometimes people they don't look at them as people, and they are. And especially nowadays, if you can have a positive relationship with a reporter, they appreciate that. So definitely go up and say hi and compliment something that they've done, and then say, oh, you might want to know about this. And you are off to the races, because that's exactly what they're looking for. So love that. Business owners are constantly looking for ways to weather the storm, because as we know, especially in the past 5 years, it seems that we've been buffeted by storms from all different areas, right? And so we want to continue to keep our bottom lines. We want to make sure that we protect our reputations. Man, that is so important. And that's where that brand resilience comes in, doing a little bit of making sure that you're looking forward so that you can be prepared when the unexpected hits you.
And I think, Kerry, you exemplify this at the congressional level. When you mentioned earlier in the podcast how when this Mary Miller language was going to be introduced, you heard, the rumor mill was swirling. You're calling different offices and they're saying, hey, that's not us. Try this person. But in order to get to that level, you have to have that, level of relationship with them. So, how did you get to a point where, when you were able to make a call into a congressional office, their staffers knew that this is not a transactional phone call. They genuinely care about what they're doing. They genuinely want to make sure that representative or senator is in the know on something that's potentially important to their constituents. How on earth did you get there?
Yeah, I think that's where your membership, your client list really comes into hand here. There's one thing if it's me, a lobbyist from DC or where I live in Lexington, Kentucky, is talking with a member from Illinois or Washington State or wherever. It's one thing if I'm communicating the issue, I represent this amount of companies. It's, I can talk about it and educate them on it. It's another thing when folks like Justin are communicating with them and I'm a farmer in your district. I employ these amount of, I have this amount of employees, this amount of tax revenue, Politicians are anything if not selfish. And so they want to get reelected. And the way they do that is by serving their constituencies. So, when we have our DC lobbying days, which we'll have one again in September, we've had 3 already this year with more to come, I'm sure. We'll set up meetings with members of Congress and their constituents so that they can hear directly from the people in their district. And it allows us to build a relationship with that office. When I was just in DC at the end of July, I met with a congressman from Wisconsin, and he said, in my 3 years of working this issue of agriculture, I've never been approached once by someone who is in the hemp industry. He's like, I'm so interested to hear what you guys have to say about it, because no one's ever approached me about it. So there are times when you just never know when you're walking into an office, if it's a Republican or a Democrat, if they've ever even heard about our issues as much as, the news of the day and how much we care about it every single day. It could be priority number 99 out of 100 for them on that particular office or that particular day if something else is going on. So, I think going to DC, going to the state house, getting in front of people that are your constituent, building that relationship, like I referenced before, so that it's not a week before something is about to happen, but 6 months ago, they came to your field day, for example, right? That way you can start to build a relationship with them so that when it does come down to please vote no or please amend this and understand this is the impact it'll have, it carries more weight. Versus just you pick up a phone call and please say no because it's last minute and something crazy might happen. So those are a few ways that we've done that.
that face-to-face can be really important, can't it? Absolutely.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Justin, I mean, while Kerry may be heading to Capitol Hill and getting in people's faces to tell them what's going on, you're inviting people to the farm. I want to give you an opportunity to talk about your farm tour, because I imagine for you, this is going to help you build some trust at the local level. But I also want to know what you see on the horizon. What are you prepping for in the next few months?
Yeah, absolutely. So the field day is taking place next Tuesday, August 13th from 11 to 4 o'clock on our farm. For people that are interested in that, you can go to the link hempfarmtour.com and you can sign up to receive more information about that. But yeah, it's an event geared specifically at legislators, but here at the state level in Illinois, although we're opening that up to really anybody. But the focus behind that was we have a urgent state level issue we're dealing with, as well as a major federal issue with the Mary Miller Amendment. So as a lot of states are dealing with both the state and federal level. So trying to, again, be proactive, get legislators to our farm, not wait till the sky is falling and calling at the last minute, trying to get something stopped. So that's been something maybe here in Illinois, as an industry as a whole, we always haven't been the best about. We haven't been as proactive as we have needed to be. So that's something that we're trying to change and that we personally are getting involved in. So very excited to have a number of legislators who have RSVP'd and are planning to attend next week. And yes, we'll be touring them through all of our facilities. So we have a cultivation facility where we grow hemp flower year round. We have packaging and processing facilities. We'll be doing a farm to table meal from beef raised here on our farm, actually. So we think it'll be a really great event focused on education, giving legislators space to ask questions on this topic, because as Kerry mentioned, some of these legislators, it might be near their first experience with it, or maybe if it's not their first experience, maybe they've only heard one side, and that might have been from our opponents. So getting a full picture of what this industry looks like, and just trying to, again, get ahead of some of these problems. And so when things come up during session, legislators will think back to that event and think, well, I'm being told a lot of things about hemp farmers that don't sound so great, but I met some hemp farmers and they seem like really nice people that were just trying to do things the right way. So
Bingo. They'll tout your side in a meeting you may not be a party to. So yeah, educating.
Absolutely. And as far as looking out ahead, we are working through the organization that I'm a part of is named the Illinois Hemp Business Association. And we're doing a lot with that with a number of other Illinois hemp stakeholders. I communicate with Kerry regularly. And if there's any way we can get involved in the Hemp Roundtable's efforts, we are always happy to do that, because they are an incredible organization that have been huge in our fights here in Illinois. I think in the last session, we were dealing with a really problematic bill, and Kerry was able to help get an email set up that would get a campaign out to legislators at the state level. I think we had almost 2,000 emails go out in just under 24 hours, just on state level. And that was all through kind of grassroots, spreading that around through social media and through our customers and some of the other stakeholders in the industry here in Illinois. So,
Kerry, where is all this anti-CBD stuff coming from? I mean, it's always been there, and I think a lot of the misinformation is a part of that. But it seems like with this latest Mary Miller language, it's really coming from the top rope down, crashing down below. What is going on here?
Yeah, part of it is disinformation, and maybe appropriate for this podcast, poor branding from the hemp and CBD industry. That phrase Delta 8 has gotten really bad rep in the halls of Congress. A few bad actors are kind of ruining it for the larger industry. I will also note that there has been a strange, I think is the right way to phrase that, marriage between prohibitionists and large MSOs. Not all folks in the cannabis industry are against us, but there's been a handful in conjunction with an organization like SAM, which is Smart Approaches to Marijuana, that have joined forces, and that they would like to see products derived from hemp to only be sold in regulated licensed dispensaries. Yeah, they are in the business and are advocating for the government to pick winners and losers in this battle, and they would like the government to pick large MSOs in this. We've likened it in the past to the bootleggers and the Bible thumpers in the 100 years ago that had joined forces because they, in both of their interests, they didn't want alcohol to be legal. Bootleggers were making a lot of money from that, and so there has been a small minority of voices. Chairman Harris from Maryland and Mary Miller from Illinois are a few of the members that are leading this, but they have joined forces and also happen to have large MSOs in their district as well. So, I left my tinfoil hat upstairs, or else I'd come down here and put that tinfoil hat on and say there's something there to that. But again, I want to harp down. It's not everybody. It's not I don't want to be too antagonistic to it, but there is something to that, that these two folks with shared interests have joined forces to try and ban this industry. And it's just really unfortunate to see, because I think with robust regulation and common sense guidelines on these products, some of these problem areas can be eliminated very quickly. So again, as I mentioned at the offset of the call, we've been asking for regulation for 6 years. And then to not give us regulation and then say, well, you're unregulated is it's cynical, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. We're seeing it right now in Missouri. There was a bill in Missouri that we tried to get passed that would have implemented regulation. Large MSOs were against that regulation bill. And then just last week, the governor said, well, because these products are unregulated, let's ban them. So I think we've learned from the war on drugs from the Reagan era that prohibition doesn't work. Regulation does, and so those are just a few of my again tinfoil hat theories, if you will, on why we're under attack here.
But it's what so fascinates me about the industry. You say regulation, excuse me, and guidelines, and I think that throws Congress off, because they're so used to people saying, "Get out of my life, government." And in this case, you're saying, "Please give us some parameters here, and we can get rid of the bad actors." So if somebody wants to learn more about hemp, about CBD, about the U.S. Hemp Roundtable, Kerry, where would you send them?
Yeah, it's hempsupporter.com. We've got a free email list. Sign up. You'll stay informed on this fast-moving world called hemp policy. We usually do weekly emails to let you know when a bad bill or a good bill might be going through. So that's an easy way to stay informed. We also launched a Hemp Supporter Plus program, $10 a month, $100 for the year. It gets you some advocacy packets and some good resources and opportunities to take advantage of our campaign, like we are having with the Save CBD campaign on August 8th. So those would be a couple of ways to get involved. And my email is kerry@hempsupporter.com. Please feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to have a conversation with somebody. You just never know when a certain state like Illinois might be having a bad bill, and having Justin, a farmer in the district, to be able to call on and say, hey, we've got this going on. We need to get the constituency involved is really impactful and helpful. So there's a few ways to get involved.
Yeah, boots on the ground there. Justin, give us the Farm Tour website once again, where people can learn more about that.
Absolutely. So to learn more about that tour, you can go to hempfarmtour.com. You just follow a link there, put in a few pieces of information, and we'll send you details on how you can attend that event. As far as other ways you can find Stoney Branch, you can find us at stoneybranch.com on our website. You can reach me personally at justin@stoneybranch.com. Our social media handles are Stoney Branch AG. If you want to follow us on Instagram or Facebook, we try to regularly update what's going on at the farm and and what we're doing on the legislative side to try to get sensible regulations for our industry.
Yeah, lots going on, and we appreciate your knowledge on the topic. So Justin Ward from Stoney Branch Farm, and also Kerry Hinkle from the U.S. Hemp Roundtable. Thanks for joining us on this 100th episode of the Move the Stairs podcast. That's awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Well, that was a great conversation, and my mic is working now, so I know you guys are doing that on purpose.
I just hit mute occasionally just to see what you'll do.
Oh my gosh, a few little technical difficulties there. But having said that, it's all about relationships, isn't it? I mean, that's what it comes down to. And
Yes.
Talking to people and building their trust in you, which builds your reputation, so that building that customer loyalty, that legislator loyalty, letting them get to know you, so important if you're in an organization, not only talking to your members and getting new members, but then giving them something that makes an impact so that they feel that it's worthy to be worth your organization is doing something, but they're part of that. I think that's huge.
On the media side of things too, I don't know if you picked up on this, but for all of our listeners, Kerry's working and communicating with national publications, the Washington Post, Forbes magazine. Justin's working and connecting with local reporters, but the tactics are still the same. You're not showing up out of the blue saying, hey, I've got something really cool that I want to tell you about. They don't know who you are. So starting now, start today, figure out who those people are. Kerry has a list of over 1,000 reporters that he's keeping track of. particularly in those local media markets. A lot of reporters come and go. So knowing and being up to date on who's there and who you might have worked with that's since moved on is really, really important for you to continue to build a relationship with media so they can help you move your message. But just remember, it is a mutually beneficial relationship.
Right.
It's got to be newsworthy. Is this news?
Yeah.
Kerry pointed that out as well.
Yeah, I wrote that down. Is this news? We talk to our clients all the time about that, right? They say, hey, we're building a new porte cochere. Is the news going to care? Nope. It's got to be news. Got to be news. But the other thing they were both talking about, which they were singing our song, they were talking about thinking ahead. Don't wait until there's a crisis. Think about it. Whatever industry you're in, when things are blowing up, it's no one's going to hear you. So if you're building those relationships, and if you're talking to folks beforehand and looking ahead, you'll help build your brand, and also then prove that you're a thought leader in your industry and help guide that message.
Could not agree more. So once again, we'd love to extend a big thank you to both Kerry and Justin for joining us on the 100th episode of the Move to Stairs podcast. Could not have been a better conversation. We hope that you like and subscribe, and we will certainly keep you updated on our next episode.